I've set up 4 goals for myself for this presentation. Okay, I'll wait 1 second. Okay. So I've set 4 goals. First is define prosperity as per Vedas. Second one is, because it's much more than wealth alone, because most of the time in this country we think of prosperity as having how much money you have. But definition of Ved for prosperity is very broad. And as you see, and I really am so happy Darshananandji talked about Vedic Sanskrit and Lokik Sanskrit. In Lokik Sanskrit, often dhan becomes wealth, but Lakshmi in Vedas has got a lot more meaning. As he said, Lakshmi can mean wealth, and it can mean Lakshan, and I'll have a mantra where that thing will come up again too. Second thing is, Vedas do not encourage us to live in poverty. I just want to be very clear. I think sometimes people have the idea that all of us have to become ascetic. That is not anywhere in Vedas. Ascetic is a very small group of people. I think Vedas expect that it'll be a very small group of people who will follow that kind of, leads that kind of life. So it says earn as much prosperity as possible, but it does add a qualification. Earn it by honest means. And I'll have some Ved mantras to verify everything I'm saying. And something which will advance your spiritual progress. Not only do it by honest means, it should also make you, not only be wealthy, but also make your spiritual progress in all areas. Third goal will be that be generous, share with others. And then it always says, keep the fourth goal always in mind, that your final goal is to God realization, which is moksha. Now you may not attain in this life, but at least start the journey in this life. And if you're really committed, then you can be ascetic and all kind of things you want. You can take sannyas, but I think if not, at least start the journey in this life. In next life, you'll be way further ahead. So, as you know, we have 4 goals, or 4 purusharth, as we call in Vedic Dharma. The first goal, is dharma. Second is arth. Third is kam. And fourth is moksha. So, dharma, I think all of you are very aware, so I'm just saying in a very simple way, means to follow a virtuous and moral path in life. All of you can hear me okay, right? Okay, all right. Arth means earning material wealth, but always in the context of dharma. So remember, dharma is number 1. So everything which comes after that has to be in the context of dharma. Same way, kam means fulfillment of desires. We all have all kind of desires, but they should be again in the context of dharma. And then moksha is the final goal for everybody. So accomplishing the 4 goals is what requires constant, persistent effort or consistent effort, which is what Purusharth is. That is karam, that is your life. We are doing karam one way or the other all the time. And if you focus your Purusharth toward those 4 goals, I think you'll be much further ahead in your life journey. So it makes a commitment to follow a virtuous life. And even Ishwar-Stuti Prarthana Upasana goal eventually is to obtain God's grace and help and blessings to succeed in attaining all these 4 goals. That's why we do Ishwar-Stuti Prarthana Upasana. Sandhya, Havan all come under that category. So fulfillment of arth and kam. So I've already broadened the definition. As you can see, it's not only wealth alone, it's fulfillment of good desires is also part of prosperity. And I'll define that in the next couple of slides in a little more detail, that what prosperity is. And Sanskrit words of prosperity, the many, dhan of course is very easy to remember, so it's called dhanam, but Lakshmi is a word used, Rai is a word used, Dravinam is used, Posham, Vasva, Radhasa, and there's several other words which have been used, so I just given you a glimpse of some words which can all belong to prosperity. So this is, to me, this is one of the best mantra which defines prosperity according to Vedas. It basically says, many of you are familiar with this mantra, Sutamaya Varda Ved Mata Pachodayanta Pavamani Dvijanam Ayum Pranam Prajam Pashum Kirtim Dravinam Brahm Varchaswam Mayam Datva Vrajat Brahm Lokam. So let's expand on this a little bit more. So what does stuti mean? Stuti does not mean repeating God's name 1,000 times, million times. That is, Swamiji called, or the bhando ki stuti hagi. Which means basically you're repeating without any purpose. Stuti means that what words you're saying to incorporate as part of your life. A small component. We're never going to be omnipresent like Paramatma, but whatever you can do to help other people. If we say Paramatma is Dayalu, then have Daya in your life. If you don't put Daya in your life and you say Paramatma ab Dayalu, Dayalu, Dayalu Sara Din, and a person comes to ask help and you go away from here, that is not Stuti. That is repeating a name without any purpose. So that is what it's saying, the Stuta Maya Varda Ved Mata, that I have incorporated message of Ved mantras in my life. That is what Stuti of Ved mantra is. And look at it's calling Mata, which is the highest honor we give in our culture to a person, that Ved Mata Veda has been called Ved Mata. So Stuta, that's the kind of Stuti we're talking about, that we're following Ved mantras in our life. Dvija Naam, so anybody who follows those Ved mantras in their life becomes a Dvij. Some people say, just because you put a Yajnopavit in your life, that makes you Dvij. That's not what makes you Dvij. Dvij is when you follow Ved in your life. And to the extent you follow and the life you live decides what kind of Dvij you'll be. If you don't follow, then you're not a Dvij. And that's the word twice born means, that a person not only learns that at home, but also under a very good guru, learned all those teachings and make them part of the life, and that's what makes a person a Dvij. Prajodyanti Pavamana, which means they become inspired and their thoughts and action becomes pure and virtuous from then on in life. So what are the rewards then? So it basically says those are the boons person gets, those are the Vardhan person gets. And it doesn't start with wealth, as you can see. It says Ayum, that if you're 25, you made $1 million and you're dead at 26, that's not prosperity for most people. They'll feel miserable that all I lived was 26. Now, a person can do great job by 26, so I'm not trying to minimize that. But long life has always been part of the prosperity definition. And then that your prana means you got vitality, you got energy. It's not you're sitting in a sick bed all the time. You can't walk from here to there. That is not prosperity. That is having wealth, money in your home, but that's not prosperity according to Vedas. That's just having money in your bank account. Prajam, so having virtuous family and progeny. So that is part of, if your person's kids are, getting drunk every day and you're getting police calls, you can have as much wealth you want, but that's not going to make you happy. And that is not, so prosperity includes having good, Pashum basically meant having good, animal wealth in form of having good food, agriculture, that you have good food to eat. Kirtim, so all of us, have, basically people talk about, we have Eshnas. Ishna means, desires. So it's called Putreshna, Lokeshna, and, Vitteshna. Vitt is wealth. So Lokeshna has always been considered, and having good fame, Kirtim, is wonderful. When people tell you that you're doing a good job, it inspires you again to do further good. Now, दोनों तरह के लोग हैं, जिस तरह हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, एक तो फूल कुप्पा बन जाता है बंदा, और दूसरा है that encourages him to do even more and inspire others to do the same thing. So that is the kind of kirti you want, that you go and help and have good fame, and then the word real wealth, dravinam, comes. And again, it doesn't stop there. It says inquire spiritual enlightenment too. So this is what the definition of prosperity is in our Vedas. And I'll expand on that in the next few mantras again. And finally, it says that don't become attached to money or wealth alone. Finally, Ishwar says that do not become attached or lost to these rewards. I gave them to you, give them back to me. And how do you give it back? Is by sharing with others. And this is the way, when you have no attachment to wealth, and I'll have some other months very soon, Kastas Vidhanaman will come too. That is what gives you prolonged bliss. So let me move on. 10 minutes? Okay, then I'm okay. You give me half an hour, right? At least that's what it says. I'll finish in 25 minutes. So this is a third mantra of Ved months now in Rig Veda. So it's not like far away. At the very third month, it says, Om Agnina Raim Shravanat Poshmeva Deve Deve Yashaswam Veervatvam. Which says, Agnina, here God is being called Agni. May we always follow message of Agni, our ultimate leader who enlightens us. Thus when we acquire wealth and wisdom, and Rai here is for wealth and wisdom, Deve Deve every day. So it's not saying, every day it's saying we should have prosperity in our life. And thus we may grow and progressively mature and prosperous. Again, it is bringing up, may we have yash. Yash means good fame again. So recognition by friends and society. And it says, may we become brave and fearless as part of that. So this was what is said, what prosperity is according to Ved. So it's a very broad term. It's not wealth alone. Second goal will be, as I said, earn as much wealth as possible. So there are many Ved months which promote and encourage us to acquire as much prosperity as possible, then how to utilize it properly in life. And as I said before, Vedas do not recommend us to live in poverty. I just want you to know that, okay? So when we say in Ishwasthuti Prarthana months, Vayam Syam Patyo Rainam, what does it mean? May we become masters of both material and spiritual wealth. So wealth is again being promoted, but again here is using the word master. Pati has got many meanings. Master, protector, husband. It's not a slave master though. I think this is where again you have to define. Our Sanskrit words are such wonderful that, they give you a positive, more than one message in them. So become protector, husband. Use the money wisely to help others, not to terrorize people. I think I'll skip this slide. I think you guys know that. So this is month now from Rig Veda, which says, Yatim manyase varenyam indra yoksham tad abhar. So what does it say? Indra, which is again used word for God, that you are the master of prosperity, like king of all kings. Tad abhar, hamare ghar ko bhar do. It's like help us, fill up us with wealth and prosperity. Yat manyase, which you consider, varenyam is what's worthy. When we say Om Bhurbhasva Tatsatu Varenyam, God alone is worthy. So here is using the word Varenyam, worthy of our pursuit or virtuous wealth, and give us radiance in life. May we thus succeed in acquiring your such gifts to us, which we have not ill-derived. Again, it's saying not by deception or cheating others, always earn wealth which is positively derived. Saying the same thing here, do not become greedy. Magrida kasasvitanam, do not be greedy, do not covet, that belongs to others. Remember whose wealth is it? Eventually, everybody goes empty hand. Nobody's taken their money with them. So while you have it, share it. And definitely don't earn it by bad means, okay? This mantra is again using the word, now Lakshmi here, when I read, one translation was used for wealth. In other places, the use for Lakshan, that all our characters should be good too. So as earlier today, Darshananji was saying, Sanskrit, Ved months have many meanings, depending on what context you're talking about. Here, Lakshmi has been used, more for money. Punya Lakshmi ya Ramantam, may the money I've earned by virtuous effort and honest means make me happy and joyful. And then it's saying Papita Anishanam, money that I have or may have even, by mistake even, earned by ill means, from this day on, I'll reject completely. That's what it's saying. And to expand that, it says, it uses even, as example, it's saying, Eta ena vyakaran, khile ga vishishtha iv. So it's saying from now on, I'm making special effort to sort and separate my wealth, which has been earned by honest means, versus that I may have earned by mistake. This is saying just like a cow herd knows which cow is a milk cow, which is not at this stage, it's the same way I learned to sort out. So I think you have to, this is what Swadhyaya is about. Look at what you've done all day long. Look at how I'm earning wealth included in that. What kind of work am I doing to earn my livelihood? And from then on, make a commitment that I will only earn good money and not any bad money. Okay, third part is be generous and share with others. Uh, this, I think, a lot of you are familiar with. Shathas samahar sahasrahas sankir. So, dear human beings, I'm going to give you a second translation to in a minute. Dear human beings, work and earn as though you have 100 hands, and then you should share the earning with others as though you have 1,000 hands. Now, this is, the common translation all of us do. One of the acharyajis told me that we should look at the opposite way too. So Acharya Vaishnavi told me that, others have translated that earn by 1,000 hands and give by 100 hands at least, so give 10% of what you earn. So that's where some of the concept of 10% comes to. He said, of course, it's a metaphor used that earn by 100 hands and give by 1,000. Then where will you have any money, okay? So you can use it both ways. You can translate if you want. If you want to use the other analogy, it can be translated that way too, okay? But sharing 10%, how many of us do it? I think we have to look at that too. Very few people do that. I just want you to know. This is another analogy used, which says, ye nadi nam sam sarvanti utsahasa sadam akshita. So basically saying human beings look at the sources, springs, glaciers of ever-flowing rivers. They're always moving, adding fresh water for people. They never stop. Similarly, I also, in all my transactions of wealth, keep on moving, flowing my wealth for virtuous purposes and balanced distribution to others. Don't hoard money, it is saying, that Ved Mantra is saying. Share with others. I think it keeps repeating them. I think if you go to Ved Mantra, there are many, many more months. I just selected a few of them to tell you, I'm not making it up. Actually, this is what months actually say. Okay. Again, it's saying, Tena taktena bhunjita magridha kasidinam. That don't be greedy, enjoy the riches which God has given you, but which a tyag bhav is what takten means, without craving and with sharing with others. So that's the third theme, as I said, of my presentation. This mantra again saying, I think this is a mantra I know Vishnuji, when he sends messages to people, often, says Ma antastuna rateya, is saying something very similar again. O ma pragam patho vayam ma yajanat indram somina. We're saying, O Master of Prosperity, King of all kings, after we acquire prosperity and benevolence in life, may we never leave the noble path in life, never forget virtuous conduct, and being generous and donating to others. That's what yajna is. One of the definitions of yajna, as you know, is dan. So keep that always in mind. And inside us, miserliness and other enemies such as jealousy never make home. Mudita and some of the things other people meaning karuna, mudita, from Yog Darshan. Again, saying the same thing. Be happy if somebody else is doing well. Learn from them and, acquire similar good habits as you see in others. Okay, I think I'm skip that. And final goal, as I mentioned, should always remain attaining God and moksha. So, what is moksha? Moksha refers to soul attaining Ishwar, God realization, and experiencing infinite bliss and deep enlightenment. So, the absolute goal of all souls is eventually to attain moksha. So, what is moksha? So, according to Vedas and Upanishads, after death of physical body, almost all souls are reborn as human being or some other life form. However, a select few are liberated from the cycle of rebirth for a very prolonged period of time and attain moksha, but it's not permanent, remember. So in the state of moksha, soul is always consciously aware of Ishwar, who is Anand Swarup, Jnana Swarup, Prakash Swarup, which is true knowledge that enlightens us. So think of soul in moksha as a bandhu or a mini companion of Ishwar, enjoys infinite bliss and enlightenment. However, the soul does not merge with God, nor does it become God. Very, very clear there, okay? And it's not a physical place called heaven or swarg where virtuous souls are supposed to go after death, which is according to Abrahamic faiths and many Hindu sampradayas too. So I thought I'll summarize my presentation. Okay. And then if there are any question and answers, I'll be happy to answer. So what is the difference between Laukik Sukh and Anand? So this is, at the extreme end of prosperity, you can talk about a real joyful life. So Laukik Sukh, as we call prosperity, and Paramatma Sukh, which people call Anand, or Sukh also. Laukik Sukh is mixed with Dukh. And I think Yog Darshan spends a lot of time on that all Sukh has got some Dukh mixed with it. Whereas Paramatma's Anand is pure bliss. Laukik Sukh is transient, whereas Paramatma Sukh is sustained. Laukik Sukh often becomes boring, and person needs more and more excitement for Laukik Sukh, whereas Paramatma's Anand is always enjoyable. In Laukik Sukh, senses control you. A person who likes to drink, he needs more drink for the enjoyment, for his senses to be excited again. Whereas a Paramatma Sukh person is master of his senses. This one, Laukik Sukh, detracts from true knowledge, whereas Paramatma's Anand, because Paramatma is Anand Swarup, Jnana Swarup, you increase your true knowledge. Laukik Sukh attaches our bondages, whereas Paramatma Sukh generates liberation. Laukik Sukh often in people, not in all people, but generally generates selfishness, whereas Paramatma Sukh Anand, creates generosity. Laukik Sukh will reduce willpower, integrity, and honesty, whereas Paramatma's Anand strengthens willpower, integrity, and person, is willing to die for truth. Well, I'll come to the end there. Laukik Sukh has no tripti, no contentment, whereas Paramatma's Anand is tripti or contentment. I think there's a saying, Jo pana sa to pa liya, in Upanishad it comes, there's nothing left now. And even then the person has to keep on trying. But that is what Paramatma's Anand is. Here is Shanti. There is Shanti on the other side. Here is lack of common purpose, promotes narcissism. There are many examples of that. Whereas Paramatma Sukh, when one person directs their life that way, promotes Sanktan, united action for common good. One promotes cowardliness and fearfulness, other focuses bravery, fearlessness, or abhay. And whereas Laukik Sukh, people always have fear of death. On the other side, a person is willing to die for truth. So I'll stop my talk there. If any questions, I think I saved some time. I can answer. I had aimed for 25 minutes, so I finished before that. Any questions? I think, there's always somewhere in between two, is the way I look at it. The more you go in the things you're doing, the more you're going towards Paramatma Sukh. I don't want you to feel that, this is as rigid. I've just given the contrast that a person who's very selfish in their dhan, I think, people who are very generous are moving more and more towards Paramatma Sukh because it's an inner joy you feel. And nobody gives you from outside. So I think, I feel for all people who are doing very good work, they're gradually moving more and more to Paramatma Sukh Anand. Nothing is absolute one way or other way. Until you reach moksha, you're all going to be in various stages of this. One can be extreme this side. On the extreme that side, of course, is wonderful experience. But, most of us are not there, so we have to just accept that. That's a gradation. And where you are in grade, I think, is up to you, each person. Yes?